What's up, YouTube? Welcome to another episode of the Undergrad Forum. Now in this video, we got guest doctor here, Cyrus.
Guest doctor here.
From General Surgery. And today we're going to talk about what is the difference, or what's it like to go on surgery interviews, and we'll kind of compare and contrast those with neurology interviews to see, is there any difference? Is it all the same? What's going on in the interview world.
So, I don't think it's any different. Did they whip you on the surgery?
They did not hit us on the...
Oh, they didn't? Wow.
So there might be differences. So as you know, residency interviews, we've already talked about it in other videos. Look here in the column on the side regarding the residency application process.
Did something actually come up here?
No, it's the side videos on YouTube, dude. Don't you know YouTube? So watch those videos on the residency process, what the interview day is set up is like. To get background, and here's some more in-depth background into the surgery process. So what happened on the surgery interviews? I mean, so they already know you can get an email through ERAS or a direct one from the people.
Right.
You want to respond first come, first serve, so respond quickly with dates.
Right.
Always accept the first interview dates until you hold them.
Right.
As it comes more and you get more later, then you can politely turn down.
Right. So yeah, I would say
all that's the same, or I don't know.
Take probably what most said. Take all the interview days that you can get, and then once you have a comfortable number, then try to be a little bit more judicial in what you want to do. I don't know if you talked about how many interviews you need for general surgery. The number is around anywhere from 10 to 15 is a good number where you'll feel confident that you'll be matching, and I don't know what it is for neurology.
I'm just gonna say get 10 or more, up to you. I just think 10's like the base number you want to hit, double digits, and up to you if you want to stop at 13 or 18 or whatever you want.
It's just mostly based on how much energy you can bring, because interviews, I mean, everybody kept saying it's so exhausting to go on the interview trail, and believe me, the travel is exhausting. It's tiring, but it's also you're in your fourth year, you're away from the medical school. You've always been there, for the past 4 years you've been there every day, and it's good to get away and go see the world a little bit. So even though you're traveling for business-like purposes, you at least get to see different areas, new surroundings. So I enjoyed going on interviews.
Yeah,
I enjoyed seeing the new hospitals. It wasn't that exhausting. It was exhausting for me to just kind of say the same things over and over again, because you get pretty much the same questions over with little tweaks here and there, kind of little surprises here and there. But in general, why your specific profession, for me, why do you want to go into surgery, why medicine kind of in general, why did you apply to our location?
Probably the most important question.
So there's a certain amount of questions that they keep coming up, and so you just keep saying the same thing over and over again. But yeah, that was pretty much my experience. I'm sure it was a little bit different from yours, but
probably the same. I thought they've seen the other video on the whole residency interview process, but I think the sames are you have pre-interview dinners.
Right.
How many people were at your interviews on a certain day?
So for general surgery, it's kind of one of the bigger ones. A lot of people apply into it. I can imagine it's more close to medicine.
I know, it's more popular.
I had anywhere from 25 to 30 people on an interview day.
5 to 6 or 10 at most.
I mean, I don't know if it was
that's
exactly
probably just special
30,
size,
but it was at least a good 20.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So there's a big difference. The number of people interviewing on a day, much smaller in neurology. What would you say about pre-interview dinners? What I told them was try to be normal, talk with everyone, just try to get insider info. Don't be that guy or girl who drank too much or is making a fool of themselves. Did you see anything like that, or how were your pre-interview dinner experience? Did you go to all of them? What were the experiences?
I tried to go to all of the ones that I could attend. Some interviews I had back to back. I think I made all of them except for one. They're fun. They're a chance to kind of relax in the sense that you're not in a formal setting with a suit. But you shouldn't be so relaxed where you're making a fool of yourself, because, I mean, the interview kind of just starts at that time and goes on until the next day. But it's your opportunity to get, I think, to get a more personal touch with the residents, because usually the attendings, well, I don't think any of the attendings was there for me. I don't know about for you.
Same thing, no.
But,
Only residents.
So the residents are there, and they give you kind of a more direct feedback, I guess. I got, some of the questions I asked there were different from, the next day when I went and asked the attendings or the residents when they were actually, who hadn't attended the pre-interview dinner. It's a chance to kind of be wined and dined. I
love that. I felt like a pretty princess. I was ordering stuff.
I mean, you work really hard throughout your years in medical school. You're studying all the time.
Yeah.
How Mo says, always study at the end. But I mean, you deserve it now. You're a hot commodity, as they say. You're a fourth year medical student with certain skills that that you can provide. You are standardized labor that the residency program can use, and it's very cheap for them, and they want you as much as you want them, so you should not feel like they have all the leverage over you, because you are, that I have to say it again, you're that hot commodity. They want you because you can satisfy their needs, so they're going to be wining and dining you. And you should enjoy it. You worked hard to get to it, so congratulations.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. So pre-interview dinners, go to them. They already know the benefit of them. Don't be outrageous. Don't stand out in a negative way.
Drinking.
What I said for drinking, you should have watched that video before you came on. You sound like you don't even know my channel. Drinking, we told them.
I only watched the videos that I.
Thank you. They know. If you don't want to drink, totally cool. There's people who don't drink. No one cares. If you do want to drink like everyone else. They kind of gauge yourself with the residents. 1 or 2 is plenty. If everyone's going to 6, you probably could too, but. Don't leave it.
Well, I don't know. For me, I know what I can and cannot drink. For me, it's safe to drink a beer, so that's what I did.
Maybe 2 if everyone's going to 2. If it's a long dinner.
Some people would order cocktails. I saw.
Yeah, I saw that too.
I was kind of scared about that, but I think it's safe to order a beer or a wine, something that's standard, as opposed to a specialty drink. That's just my personal opinion, but yeah. You guys gauge the situation. Yeah,
just kind of, and that's up to you. You got to feel the crowd. You got to see what the residents are doing. End of the day, be yourself. Don't try to fake anything. It's going to be obvious. But I think drinking and the wining and dining, and it's a casual fun time.
Right.
The residents don't show up there with a booklet to test you.
They sometimes show up in scrubs themselves. So.
I think they mainly show up for the food.
Yeah.
Let's be honest.
I'm going to show up for the food.
Yeah. They come up for the food and they're like, I'll share some info. Yeah. But also take that time to ask questions you won't ask on interview day.
Yeah.
I remember I always asked the residents, so really, when do you get in and when do you leave most days? To get a sense of, is it a hardcore program that's underserved, not enough residents maybe, overworked? Or is it appropriate? Because you don't want to be at a place that's truly under served by residents and you're upside down at work every day. That's also not fun.
Right.
So take the time. You can ask questions that you want that are more casual, that works in the more casual environment of a food session. Interview day. Anything odd or anything unique that happened? I'll start with the story that happened when I was on the East Coast. I was interviewing at a school, I was having a great time, and then I got paired with this guy who was a sub specialist, and he saw in my application that I liked the physical exam, as I would say every neurology applicant probably does, and then he sat on the desk and said, test all my cranial nerves. During my interview, where they're supposed to try to make me want to come there, he pimps me on the spot for the entire physical exam, for the cranial nerve exam. I was just Mo, play it cool, just do it and, do a good job. But I just couldn't believe that this guy, that's not normal. You're not supposed to be, it's one thing to kind of, you're not supposed to pimp on an interview. But
that was one of my biggest fears, being pimped on an interview.
Yeah, it's, because interview day, you're focused on the school, you're not bringing, you can get pimped, but I just thought it was not classy, and it made, it tarnished my view of the school. I really like left it with a bitter taste in my mouth because I just felt kind of belittled almost. Like, what's the point of this? Like, you know, we can take care of basics at least. Like, pimping me on Crane on Earth isn't going to tell you that much.
For me personally, I mean, you're gonna have certain interviews where you know the interviewer is gonna grill you, try to kind of belittle you, or just kind of not belittle you, but just kind of test you to see how you'll react. You know, it can make you rise to the occasion, or it can make you just hate the place. So the place that I got grilled on, I had a little less favorable view on them, but I mean, it just depends on the situation. I didn't really have anything that fun. Well, I had one interview. I actually had to play a game, and kind of, it wasn't really a competition against others, but it was a competition of all applicants from other interview days. We had to play a game of Operation.
How stereotypical.
To test our, I guess, surgical skills. So it was a very it was fun. It was fun to do, but again, kind of unique. But I've heard stories where you know people had to tie knots and you know show their hand dexterity on their interview. I've heard stories where people were you know situated in a group interview and
I've heard that.
And the chairman would ask you know specific questions that were very you know particular about their application and ask them to defend themselves in front of the other applicants, like why would I choose you over the other. So I mean it's different interview styles at different places. Obviously we haven't interviewed at every institution, so we can't give you that info, but the general theme is you should be you know yourself, you should be confident going into the day. You're trying to you know it's kind of like, well, they say it all the time, but it's kind of like a speed date. And, you know, it's like you're there for a certain amount of hours. You're exposed to only a couple people who are actually interviewing you and actually, like, you know, writing, like, you know, notes during the interview that will, I am assuming, go back to the residency committee. But everybody there, you know, is like the residents, the other attendings who are there, the staff, the secretary, they're all you know observing, and anything that's out of the ordinary is going to be flagged. I would say like as a recommendation, just try to you know be yourself and you know bring any like unique. Oh, you know, like there was one program director I was talking to who was saying that he doesn't, like, you know, it's kind of like a blur for him for, you know, interviewing applicants because, you know, pretty much everybody's the same in the sense that, you know, everybody who's applying to their program is a smart individual. Yeah. They have all the same numbers, have all the same grades, all the same application, you know, but like the hobbies and the stuff that like makes them unique stands out to him. And so he was talking about how one guy actually started yo-yoing during his interview, and he remembers that. And then I said, "Oh well, I know that guy." And so it's just memorable. So be yourself, and you know try if you talked about something memorable on your application. You know, bring that up so that he can remember you.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like, I would say the pressure is on you to make sure you leave a good one-liner with everyone. And as you're interviewing throughout the day, some people are going to be more research, some people are more clinical, and it's up to you to highlight perhaps different skills that you have or different parts of your application to make it more memorable to your audience. I mean, people who were more like clinical fun, I would highlight to them the YouTube channel. People who were more researchy, I would really highlight my research to them. So the job's on you. Don't just sit there and expect like people to ask you all the questions because they're dying to get to know you.
Right.
Yeah, you are a hot commodity, but just like in business, you need to sell yourself.
Right.
So bring up things that are good about you. Bring up your hobbies appropriately, you know, not randomly, and sell yourself. And going to that point you made about some programs may grill you. I was in the Midwest, I guess, at a well, actually the most prestigious interview I had.
Yeah.
And the associate program director had gone through my application word for word, circled dates. He couldn't figure out a few things.
Yeah.
And he looked at me and said, "Your application's full of shit. These dates don't make sense. There's no way you can do all this." And I was like, "Oh, I know what he's doing. He's trying to like test me probably a little
Right.
bit to see like how I'm gonna react." And I just kind of stared. He had a really nice window, and I just kind of stared, and I was like, "Happy to answer any questions, but that's my solid application." And he looked at me and was like, "Oh, I didn't expect that."
Yeah.
And then I answered his. I mean, honestly, he didn't have any ammunition. He just had that scary one-liner. And once we went through it, I was like, "Man, he didn't even find anything.
Right.
He was just picking on me." And we talked about my application. He was impressed, and he even told me my research was crap. He's like, "That's gonna go nowhere, but you can defend it. It's all that matters." And when I left that interview, I actually respected that school so much more because they had the moxie to push me.
Yeah.
And they didn't do it in like a rude, demeaning way. They just like pushed me and just to see what I would do, and they gave like some feedback in the end, which I
Right.
thought was fun. So not all pressure is bad. It sometimes makes you respect the school a lot more.
Right.
So I mean, overall, I think just some nuances of who you're seeing, but overall, there's not that much of a difference. More people obviously interview for general surgery than neurology, so there's more people there.
More people in internal medicine. I
More
would
people
assume.
there. Pre-interview dinners, all the same.
Mm-hmm.
Try to get information. Interview day begins the day you wake up before the interview.
I would just say make friends with the staff that runs the interview, like the residency coordinator, the secretary.
Yeah,
whoever it
anyone.
is. They're very, very helpful.
Yeah.
If you reach out to them, they'll always try to help with anything, any concerns that you have on the pre-interview day, on the interview day, after the interview,
Right.
how to email, attendings if you want to send a thank you
Yeah.
note, or if you want to write a thank you note.
Make friends.
They're very, very helpful, and they have a lot of I wouldn't say like sway, but like they can
Influential.
They can be influential. So
They have the ear of the program director. I think that's the saying.
yeah. So it's very helpful to have them on your side.
I couldn't agree more. Yeah, so I hope you guys got some information here. We got some insight into the surgery residency process. Very similar to medicine with some nuances. You can play the game operation. And we covered some myths that, again, I don't know if these are just myths that we all hear and we just
I
keep
don't know.
passing them down, and now you guys heard them. But we never experienced them. Most interviews were quite normal. All right, so any more recommendations or advice for the viewers?
No, that's pretty much it. Just work hard, guys.
Alright guys, hope you enjoyed this video. If you have any questions, drop them down in the comments below. Go on the Facebook or the Twitter page, ask your questions. The community as a whole can help each other out and we can get some things done. Hope you guys enjoyed this video and learned about surgery sub-Is and ways. And as always, enjoy your studies.